All right, before we get into this episode today of I Am Salt Lake, I'm excited to tell you about a brand new project that we're working on here. Because one of the biggest complaints, we hear this all the time from people, they say, hey, I don't know what is going on in Salt Lake City. How do I keep up on all these events? How do I find out when a concert is or a downtown market? Well, we're working on a new project that will put a daily email right in your inbox of events going on in Salt Lake City for that day. This is absolutely free for you to sign up, and of course you can unsubscribe at any time. And it would be awesome if all of our listeners of I Am Salt Lake, if you went and signed up, so when we launch this here in the next couple of weeks, we'll have some subscribers. That way they can read it and check it out. If you head on over to slc.events, just type in slc.events in your web browser and enter your name and email. Really simple. Type that in, slc.events, and sign up for the email list. It would mean a lot to Chrissy and I. All right, with all that being said, let's welcome everybody out today to a brand new episode of I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 351. My name's Chris.
And my name's Chrissy. Hey guys, today we're recording proudly out of the Mountain West Hard Cider facilities right here in Salt Lake City. These guys have been great in letting us use their conference room to record some of our podcast interviews. So stop on by and grab some hard ciders on your way home from work. Their address is 425 North, 400 West in Salt Lake City, just north of the Gateway.
And if this is your first time listening to this podcast and you're like, what is this all about? What did I stumble upon? Well, this podcast is all about showcasing awesome people in Salt Lake City. We get to talk to musicians, artists, business owners, restaurant owners, breweries, distilleries, food truck owners, really anyone that might have a cool story.
Like on today's podcast, we get to talk with local Salt Lake City photographer Nico Marsh. Nico joins us on this episode and she shares her story of what got her interested in photography, obstacles she's encountered along the way, and we even get to talk about the Strong Women of Utah project she's been working on, which I'm actually a part of, so stay tuned. And the upcoming event she's putting together at Public. So we're going to get into all of that here in just a minute.
Hey, before we get into this conversation, let's take a moment and thank our amazing sponsors, Five Wives Vodka and Market Source Real Estate. We're going to be telling you more about them a little bit later on in the podcast.
So we've been talking about the downtown farmers market this entire season, but on this episode, I have some bad news. Hold back the tears, guys. This upcoming Saturday, October 20th, is the very last farmers market at Pioneer Park for 2018. It's going to be going on from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., so make sure you head over there and give it one last hurrah before the season's over.
It's kind of sad to say goodbye. They're going to have the winter market, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that starts up in like November, if I'm not mistaken. But hey, here's that conversation with local photographer Nico Marsh when she joined us in our studio. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy. What did your childhood smell like? I know that's such an interesting question, but we all have these memories of our childhood.
Yeah, I think a couple things would be espresso, Cuban espresso, because my mom made it every single morning. So I just remember waking up to that, and we cooked, I'm 100% Cuban, so growing up, my meals were all Cuban food. So I think just the scent of Cuban food.
You're 100% Cuban?
Yes.
Did you grow up here in Utah then?
No, I grew up in Orange County in California, and both of my parents were born in Cuba, and they came out here in the 60s. They were kids, but my grandparents on both sides left in the early 60s when Cuba was becoming, or after Cuba became a communist country.
Wow. Do you ever get back to Cuba?
So I actually haven't been back yet, but our family is talking about doing a big family trip out there.
And you still probably have tons of relatives and everything out there.
One of my grandmothers comes from 15 brothers and sisters.
Holy cow.
Yes.
That is awesome.
And 5 of them only came to the States. So there's lots of aunts and uncles, cousins, extended family.
That you've never met.
That I've never met.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom met them for the first time a little over a year ago since she left Cuba. It was her first time going back as an adult. So
that is so cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of we're going to get into your photography here in a minute, but I like to find out about people kind of, about their childhood and what led them into what they're doing. What kind of kid were you? Were you a good kid, a bad kid? Or,
I was a good kid.
Tell all the secrets right now, and then your mom can listen.
Well, yeah.
She can find out later.
You remember that part I told you? We can edit it out, right?
Yeah,
perfect. This is that part. So you were a good kid, never got into trouble or anything? Or?
Not really. So I have 3 brothers, and out of all my siblings, I was always the one ending up in the emergency room, breaking stuff.
No.
Why? Were you doing a lot of activities that made you want to break your bones?
Yeah,
or?
I just wasn't paying attention, I don't think.
You sound like me. My nickname was Crash Chris because I broke bones like crazy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was homeschooled.
I was too.
Really?
My whole life. Did you ever go to public school?
No, I was homeschooled my whole life too, from kindergarten through high school. And I think that's, there's good and bad to that. But during that time as a kid is when I really tapped into my creative side. And our garage was turned into our homeschool room. So there was bookshelves everywhere, and I had a little corner creative room, which is where I would make things.
Did your parents really inspire? Did they push you to pursue your creativity?
No, I think it just kind of came naturally, and then just from reading a lot too.
Yeah.
And I was really into books and travel photos, and so I think that's just what kind of inspired me over the years.
Were your brothers homeschooled too? Like your whole family?
Yeah, our whole family was homeschooled.
Did you like that? Did you like being homeschooled?
I did.
Did you ever, like me, I kind of wished I went to public school. I didn't really care.
Yeah, I think it was... So it's funny when people ask me about homeschooling, they ask what's the hardest thing. And I think the hardest thing for me was after I graduated college and then I was working in corporate America, and I tell people I never learned to learn the rules at the playground because I was around nice people my whole life.
Oh, so you have to learn how to deal with people who are difficult.
Yeah, difficult, or people that I couldn't trust.
Yeah.
I just was this innocent.
So you just wanted to be everybody's friend and trust everybody.
Totally. Yeah. So I think that was, skill sets that people learn at a much younger age. I learned in my 20s working after college. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Let's jump a little bit ahead to photography.
Okay.
What got you into photography?
Yeah. So actually, when I was 14, I bought my first camera. I think homeschooling had a huge influence on that. And this was before, when I started taking photos, I really got more into it towards the end of high school, and I was taking classes at the local junior college, and it was right before digital came out. So I learned film, and I would do my own prints in the darkroom. And
do you think that's really helped you be more creative, the fact that you had to spend more time with your pictures?
I think so.
Yeah. It seems to me like that would be a huge benefit.
Yeah, I think that definitely helped. And then learning lighting and different shadows. I think processing my own photos really helped me learn that as well. During college, I traveled a ton, and so I just bring my camera with me everywhere. And then probably about 11 years ago, there was some hard things going on with her family and stuff, so I put my camera away for a season. And
sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah, sometimes you have
just to kind of reconnect and kind of find yourself again.
So I recently got married last year. My husband is a product photographer, and he's amazing. And he has a studio here in South Salt Lake as well, and he shoots product. And we've had a rough couple years, and sorry.
No, you're fine.
Between both of us, we had 6 deaths within our friends and mutual family the past 2 years. And so his dad passed away last summer, and we took care of him for 6 weeks while he was on hospice. And so during that time and afterwards, Andy and I were just, I think that just shifts everything and shifts what you want to do with your life, and what do you want to bring to the table too. And make a difference. And so we started talking about photography again, and I opened up about that, how I put my camera away for a season. And so he's the one who actually really encouraged me to pick it up again. And
so did he know that you did photography?
He did, but he didn't know to the extent of how passionate I was about it. So so that was last year. And then he bought me a camera again in around the fall time last year, around this time. And that's how I just started getting back into it.
That's so cool. And you've just been cruising since then. Like, you've been killing it. Your photography is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So back in January, I had this idea that I wanted to shoot 100 women in Utah. And there's a few aspects behind that. Yeah, so I told Andy, and he's like, "You're crazy."
Really? He thought you were crazy? I think it's a great idea.
Just because I'm really driven, and so I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. So I only shot a couple women in January, and then I picked up again in May. So pretty much from the end of May till now, I've shot 100 women now.
Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so, and Andy was amazing in the beginning. He's the one who taught me more about the lights and the gear, and just I learned from him for a couple months, and then I was up and running after that. So I'm really thankful that I had a great support system.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So would it be safe to say your favorite thing to photograph is people then? Is that your favorite? Or do you have a favorite that you're just not sharing with the world?
No, I think the work that I've produced this year is just the beginning of more work to come that I'm excited about. So I definitely love people. I've traveled a lot, so I love shooting different cultures too. I love kind of street photography and travel photography. But when I started pursuing photography again, I really wanted to do studio portraits.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love that. I wanted to shoot. I've come from a corporate world where I've worked with, a variety of different people, but I wanted to photograph real people and their real stories and
just kind of capture their essence.
Yeah, capture their essence. And I think because I've worked in corporate for so long, I kind of lost that creative side and then that personal touch too. So I wanted to bring that back into my life and work too.
What's the hardest thing for you with photographing people?
Yeah, so I think this year I set out this goal to do this women campaign out here. And so for the majority this year, I've only shot women. And the campaign is Strong Women of Utah. But with that, I've met so many different personalities and people. It's pretty intimate setting because it's just me and that person sitting. I start them off sitting on the stool. Some, their insecurities come out, or they're self-conscious about their weight, or they just are really shy. So I think learning to work with them and also empower them and bring their natural self out so they don't have to feel insecure about, how they look or how they feel too. But I think that's been the hardest, is just working with all these different personalities and these emotions of women coming into the studio.
Oh yeah. Cause I actually was part of your Strong Women of Utah, which was really fun. But I know when I came in and did it, I was so awkward and I didn't know what to do. And I was really stiff, and you were very good at just like, it's okay here. Maybe take off your watch, maybe do this, and just relax, just be happy. And so it was like, I could see how you're almost like a therapist in that way. Like you're trying to let everyone know that it's okay to be you. Yeah. And I just want to capture that. Yeah. It was a really cool experience.
Well, it's similar to, the podcast here. When we bring people through here, we're trying to, help them get comfortable and relax. Yeah. And because not everybody gets photographed and not everybody goes on a podcast, right? So, and some people never get photographed.
It's hard when all of a sudden you have to be in the spotlight. A lot of us don't want to do that. It's like, no. I'm here because I like to do the other thing. I don't like this. I don't like getting taken pictures of or talking into a microphone. I want to do the thing I'm good at. Yeah. And so it's a cool thing, but it kind of teaches you people skills, huh?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and I've met so many amazing women, and I think it's been a good journey for me too. And with the stress that we've been through the past couple years, I had gained a lot of weight. So when Andy would shoot some test photos, I didn't like it. And that was a practice for me because I'm like, okay, I'm asking these women to come in. And so I had to shift my mindset as well with how I look. And because if I don't believe that in myself, then I can't empower the women that I'm photographing. So that's been really hard too, but a really good practice for me as well.
Yeah.
As I've been shooting these women.
Let's actually take a quick break here. We need to play a message from our sponsors. And then when we come back, I want to talk about the Strong Women Utah campaign that you're doing. I don't know if we didn't really get into depth about that yet.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
And then there's an event coming up. We'll talk about that too, obviously, when we come back from the message about our sponsors. So hang tight. We'll be right back. All right, guys, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Market Source Real Estate. I know we have a lot of listeners that are listening right now, and they are looking to move to Salt Lake City. And I know you have no idea where to move. You're like, where is a cool area of town? I don't want to get suckered into buying a lame house.
Or like a money pit.
Exactly. This is where you need to contact our friends Monique and Jeremy Higginson of Market Source Real Estate.
The cool thing about Monique and Jeremy is that they really, really know about the older homes here. And I know, Chris, you and I, we love all the older homes and all the character out here, but it is kind of scary because you never know when you're buying a home, is it going to be a good home for you? And Monique and Jeremy have had 17 years of experience specializing in helping people find those types of homes.
They also have a background of flipping houses, and they've owned like 24 homes themselves, which is ridiculous in itself. So they know all the ins and outs of older homes.
And if you're selling your home, I know for a fact that these guys are amazing at updating and repairing and helping you increase the value of your home. Because, Chris, you and I have gone to a few of their open houses.
Oh, they're
and
great.
I've wanted to buy every house. It's so great.
So if you're looking to buy an old home, they know what to look for in older homes so you don't end up buying a money pit. You can find their info at thinksaltlakecity.com. That's the website. Or give them a call at 801-810-6773. Again, that's 801-810-6773. All right, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Five Wives Vodka. I know our longtime listeners, you guys hear us talk about them each and every week, and I know you already have a bottle in your hand right now as you're listening to this podcast. For those of you that don't, head on over to the state liquor store, pick up yourself a bottle of Five Wives Vodka. While you're there, pick one up for your wife or your grandma, maybe Chrissy.
Hey, always Chrissy. It makes a great friendship present.
And you're probably still just drinking your LaCroix with the Five Wives,
I
right?
am, because it's nice and easy and it tastes delicious.
It is. And they actually have 3 different flavors. I love to talk about them because I love all the 3 flavors. So we're going to kind of tell you a little bit about them really fast here. They have the original Five Wives Vodka. This is made from that delicious Utah mountain spring water. It's 100% distilled corn spirit and gluten-free, so it's healthy. The spring hidden in beautiful Ogden Canyon is inaccessible by vehicle, so the water's hiked out 5 gallons at a time.
It's definitely a Chrissy-approved favorite drink. But they also have Five Wives Sinful, which is a flavored vodka with a delicious cinnamon taste. And it's not like the other cinnamon products that will leave a cinnamon candy taste in your mouth. Sinful is like a morning cinnamon roll, and it only has 76 calories per ounce.
They also have the Five Wives Heavenly. This is a favorite of mine. It's a flavored vodka with a delicious vanilla taste. Heavenly's rich, buttery vanilla flavor. It comes through without coating your taste buds with sugar, and this results in more vanilla and less calories, so it's healthy. Head on over to fivewivesvodka.com. You can find out more information about all their amazing products, find out a little bit about history. And like I said, next time you head on over to the state liquor store, pick up a bottle. Next time you head over to your local bar, ask for Five Wives Vodka by name. And as always, many thanks to the awesome Five Wives Vodka for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. I always feel like, it's weird. Like a podcast and radios are so close, but yet a podcast, you don't have to recheck it, right? It's like, obviously people know we're here talking to you, Nico. So, even though I mentioned that we're going to talk about the Strong Women Utah campaign, which I want to definitely talk about, we started kind of talking a little bit more about the homeschooling. So I was homeschooled in California, which you said you were.
Yes.
At the time, I mean, that's all I knew, right? I told my mom I didn't want to go to public school, and I probably didn't really want to at that time. Now, as I'm older, I wish I would have gone to a regular school. I feel like I didn't get properly taught a lot of things but again, I mean, maybe a public school wouldn't have taught me that either. I don't know because I didn't experience it. But so in California, and I have an older brother and a younger sister, we were homeschooled too. And it was a lot for religious reasons, which is fine, but I don't think math should be overlooked just to study the Bible.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And not that there's anything wrong with studying the Bible, but I believe you need to study all your subjects to learn. But you enjoyed it. So, I mean,
Yeah, I think it's like anything, there's good and bad. And I definitely went through this phase after college questioning my parents why they did it. But once I came to this understanding that at that time my parents thought that's what was best for my brothers and I, then I respected them in that decision. I don't fully agree with all of it. And I think some of the religious aspects and seeing how it's affected other families and adults, the women are definitely encouraged to stay home and be housewives and then homeschool their kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just knew I wanted something different for myself. So
everybody has a unique path.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So,
I'm definitely discovering more and more homeschoolers back again. I mean, I'm 40 years old. So this was 40 years ago, really. I mean, like 35 years ago when it started, and it was at a time when not a lot of people did it. My mom had her teaching credentials, even though neighbors would call the truancy officers on her, and they would come and pound on the door and pretty much act like they were going to put my mom in jail for homeschooling us.
You guys were the original hipsters, though.
Yeah.
Now it's the coolest thing to do.
Now everybody's doing it.
Now there's so many more resources.
Now you're a terrible parent if you don't homeschool.
Yeah. Let's talk, though. I want to talk about the Strong Women of Utah. Is it Strong Women Utah Camp? What's the name of it?
Well, so it's Strong Women of Utah, and the hashtag that I've been using and the women have been using is hashtag Strong Women UT.
Okay.
And that's, I just started using that to
Very cool.
promote the women here.
So this is part of your 100 women
Correct.
that you want to take a picture. And one of them is of Chrissy.
Yes.
How can people see these? Are they on your website or?
Yeah, so I'm a little behind on my website, but as of right now, you can see them on my Instagram, which is at Nico T. Marsh, and then on Facebook as well. I also had a show in July, and I'll be having another one in November, and possibly one during Sundance too now.
When and where can people come if they want to see them in November?
So November 15th, it's going to be at Public off of West Temple from 6 to 9 p.m. I'm really excited. I've been working with Missy, and she's sponsoring too as well. So we're just excited to get everyone to come together and celebrate the work that's gone into it, and then the work and the women that will be featured as well.
So are all the pictures of all 100 people, or I guess you probably haven't taken 100 photos yet of all.
I have.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yes.
So you've taken the 100 pictures.
Yes.
Will all 100 pictures be up at this event?
Yes, they will.
Okay. Do you sell them at all? I mean, can you sell them? Other people's pictures? I don't know. That's kind of weird, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just more I won't be selling those prints unless the woman who I've taken the portraits of, if their family wants to buy it of them. But, I'll definitely have an area of people want to take or interested in taking portraits with me, then, I can get their contact info or they can reach out to me. And, but I think that event is more not just to sell work, but to really celebrate the women as well.
Sure. Very cool. And say the date one more time again.
November 15th.
And what day is that, a Friday?
It's a Thursday night from 6 to 9 p.m.
Free to get into?
Yes.
Excellent. But coffee will probably be there. Buy some Public coffee and goodies from them to support. I love Public coffee.
Yeah, they're great.
And this was a really interesting campaign because it was purely word of mouth, right?
Yes.
So how did you get started?
So I reached out to just a couple people that I knew. And so the first person I photographed is my friend Mika, who is the general manager at Deer Valley. And then from there, she told a couple friends, and then I had told a couple other friends, and it just started growing that way. And then I shared what I wanted to do with Helen Wade, who owns The Stockist. And she's like, I'd love to have you do a show at my store. And so she helped me rally up all the women on 9th and 9th. So we did a little show for just the women on 9th. Most of the businesses there are women-owned businesses.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and then from there, it just started growing more, and people started introducing me to other people. I didn't know who was going to always walk in the door, but now I've shot a variety of different pockets here with not only just business owners. I've photographed a couple little girls. I've also photographed politicians and some women who own and run nonprofits. So it's just a variety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I've photographed a couple women who escaped polygamy too. So just getting a bunch of different backgrounds. And
very cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your camera setup now. Do you use a digital now, or are you still using film?
No, I use digital. So
I couldn't imagine people that still use film. It's like, oh, what if you mess up?
It's probably like a ritualistic thing at this point, right? Like you do it because you love the dark room.
I know there's some photographers who have turned back to film, but I think for the work that I've been doing, it's digital. And my husband and I have a studio in South Salt Lake, so we have a huge warehouse space, and we've been shooting out of there.
Very cool.
Too. Yeah, and I have a Canon 5D that I've been shooting with. Very
cool. What's been one of the coolest thing that's happened to you by meeting and photographing people? Has there been any cool, what's the rewarding thing? What's been one of the most rewarding things? Yeah, I think there's a variety. I think it's one, having this vision and taking it into action and completing it, I think is a huge accomplishment. But through that, I think what I've enjoyed the most is just meeting all these amazing women, and I've become friends with some of them too now. I think also too, sometimes coming from California, there's this stigma sometimes of Utah that there's not as much going on. Yeah. And well, there isn't. No. Compared to California. Yeah, compared to California. But there are so many amazing things going on here. Yeah. And so that's been really fun to learn about, different projects that these women are working on too. Yeah. It's just a little more well hidden in Salt Lake. It is. What advice would you give somebody who wanted to get into photography? Maybe they're like, I'd like to take pictures with my iPhone, but I'd like to do something a little more. Yeah, I think, if you're interested in it, I just say go for it. And, you don't have to have the best equipment. I think if you have the eye and the passion for it, I would just encourage taking a photo a day, even if it is with that iPhone starting off. What if they don't have an eye for it, right? What if, is that something do you think you can teach yourself to get an eye for good photography? I think my perspective, I think you can learn some of it, but most of it is natural. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of that artistic personality. Yes. Maybe of that. So your husband takes photos too. Yes. Is it? Does he do a lot of people shots? No, he does product. So he does commercial, and he also, he does a lot of advertising as well. Interesting. Yeah. So he was an art director for about a decade with Fox Racing, and then he went on his own about 5 years ago now. So he works with a lot of action sport companies. He does everything for Black Diamond right now. So he does all their e-commerce and their advertising shots.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but he has clients from everywhere.
How is that working with him? I mean, do you work side by side with him all day then, or is it just once in a while?
No, just once in a while. He's helped me a lot and relearn things and learn new things as well. So he's been there helping me, but I've been shooting in the evenings, the portraits. So that's how, but we're independent of.
You do different photography.
Correct. Yeah.
Are you going to continue to do portrait photography? Is that kind of your long-term goal?
Yes, I'd love to continue with that. And I've already shot several families now too, so I want to keep doing that as well.
Can people hire you, right? People that are listening, they can hire you for family shot. Christmas is coming up. Maybe some photos for Christmas. Maybe Chrissy and I, we need to get some family.
We really need some photos. I was looking at my photos the other day and I'm like, I don't have any professional photos except for the one that you've taken.
Yeah.
Maybe we all get like matching sweaters or something.
We should get, oh my gosh, ugly sweaters. But Charles has to get an ugly sweater.
And we could take some really fun photos with the
kids.
Ugly sweaters.
Yeah, ugly sweaters. Let's kind of, let's get back. I want to get to know you a little bit and let our listeners get to know you. We talked a lot about photography but let's find out a little bit about Nico. What about your most memorable concert or sporting event? Do you have one that sticks out or maybe not?
So the most memorable sporting game that I've been to was probably 6 years ago now. And I was at this sushi bar with a girlfriend and we were at the bar drinking, eating sushi, and this guy kept buying everyone there drinks. And so I've had a few drinks by then, and then I asked him, like, hey, what do you do that you're just buying everyone drinks here? And so he gives me his card, and he ended up being one of the managers for the Lakers. So he said, hit me up if you ever want tickets. So I did. And I hit him up later that week and he gave tickets to my girlfriend and I. And we went, we ended up being like 8 rows behind the players and we weren't expecting those seats.
Oh, wow.
And they actually played Utah Jazz that night. But
that
it was just so much fun because the Lakers won that night, but it was just a really fun.
Are you still a Lakers fan? It's okay if you are.
I'm not really. I'm not really a sports person. Yeah, but I just remember that game and how we got there, and we just arrived and we're like, how did we get these tickets?
That is a rad story.
Yeah,
Very
it's fun.
Cool. Very cool. If you could do a Skype call with any living person, who would it be? Like you just, boom, here's anybody in the world, famous, unfamous.
I don't know. When I think about Skyping or connecting, it would just be with family that I haven't met yet. And
I like that answer. A lot of people are so quick to be like, oh, Paula Abdul.
Well, she is awesome, but
Amy Grant.
Amy Grant. Ever heard that one?
No, that's great though with family. You seem like a very Do you have family here in Utah? Did we even find out what brought you to Utah? Did we talk about that at all? What brought you to Utah?
My husband did, actually. So we met about 12 years ago. We met at a Halloween party, and then we were just friends for a long time, and then we started dating in 2016 or so, and so I moved out here in 2017.
Yeah, he was living here then?
He was already living here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he had already been out here for a couple years, and we did long distance for about a year, and then I moved out here in 2017, and then we just got married September 30th of last year.
Wow.
Yeah. Happy just barely anniversary.
Thank you.
You like Utah, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I do. I really like it. So, and I think that I had this amazing community back in California. And so when I started this women's project too, part of that came from just wanting to connect with more women as well. And that was kind of a draw to start that as
Very
well.
Cool.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody who wants to visit, or like say they're going to visit Utah? Is there something you would say, you got to check this out? This is really cool. Whether it's a building, some people say, the public library or I don't know. Is there anything?
I think for me, I'm drawn to the mountains here. Yeah. And I know Salt Lake has grown a lot and it's getting busier, but compared to where I was from, it's a slower pace of life. So I feel like I can enjoy things more here, and there isn't as much stress from what I'm used to work-wise.
Because of California.
Because of California, yeah. It's just so hectic.
That's a pretty fast-paced area.
Yeah, super fast-paced. Everyone's super cutthroat, and people are more into themselves and not about communities. And there are definitely certain pockets of communities there. But I really have found that Salt Lake is very welcoming. So it's been really refreshing for me. But yeah, so I think people who come out here definitely see what's here in the city, and there's so many.
Check out the mountains.
Yeah, and then go check out the mountains. I love the mountains.
Do you get a hike a lot? Do you go out hiking?
I've only gone a few times this year, but I do love skiing. So I'm around.
It's a good place to ski.
Yeah.
I've heard there's some good skiing here.
Someone
Just
said
a
that.
little bit.
So you're probably antsy for winter to come there.
Not quite yet, because the winters last so long here.
Oh, I know. And then we're all just waiting for summer to come back.
Yeah.
I'm already waiting for summer
I know, me too.
to come back.
Today I was like, oh, I'm already getting sad.
What about like any favorite local eating spots? Do you have like a favorite restaurant or a favorite, I don't know, sandwich shop? I don't know.
Favorite brunch?
So I have a few places. So I met this lady, Christina, at the farmer's market, and she owns a Cuban food truck called La Cubana. And so she actually catered our wedding last year. So to get kind of that comfort food, I'll go there. And then I really like the vibe of Lake Effect.
Okay.
I like how they have live music. So it's kind of a favorite spot of mine here.
Have you eaten from what was the name of that food truck, Chrissy? The Havana? Was it the Havana food truck? Havana, aren't they Cuban? It was a Cuban food truck.
I think it's Cuban food.
Is that the name of it? The one you were telling?
No. This one's called La Cubana, and she's Cuban.
Yeah.
So it's the most traditional.
Yeah.
Cuban
I know there was
food.
one that we ate at.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember
there's
the name
another
of it,
Cuban
but-
Yeah.
deal. What would you change about Salt Lake? Is there anything you would like to see different or change?
I think the hardest for me has been the diversity. I'd love to see more of that, but I think doing even this photo campaign, I've been exposed to more. And so I would love to, I think that just happens as a city grows. There's going to be more people coming in and more diversity too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think a lot of women have told me that this project that I've been doing is going to make a big impact, because from their perspectives and women that have been here a long time, they don't feel as celebrated as much. And I think that was I've mentioned celebrated a few times, because I think with, all the women's stuff that's going on, it makes women look as like victims, and we're not victims.
It's like kind of not as empowering as you would hope it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I think this is going to hopefully bring a lot of attention to what women are doing.
Yeah, and like
here.
the strength that women can actually have. It's an often overlooked trait that we have, I think.
Definitely.
Okay, here's a fun. Didn't have this one in the notes, but I'm always curious because I've talked to a handful of photographers in my lifetime, and you find the ones that will take wedding photography and some won't. Will you do people's weddings if they wanted to hire you for their wedding? No.
Really?
No. And this is a strong thing that a lot of photographers, some won't touch it. They don't want to do your wedding.
Yeah. I actually want to get into shooting bridal portraits, but that is something that I can recreate or retake again. My aunt is retired now, but she was one of the first wedding planners up in Park City, actually. So she planned these huge weddings with large budgets, and I worked several of those events with her, and just seeing the stress of all of it and some of these brides, I've just kind of always stayed away from
It's not really as happy and laid back of a day as you would assume.
Yeah. And then I do know some photographers who just love it too. So
and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to ask her this question. But, well, I've had a heck of this has been so great to bring you on the podcast, find out your story, find out what got you into photography. your event's on the 15th of November, which this will definitely be up about a month prior to that. And we'll put all that information at iamsaltlake.com with this episode as well. So go check that out, support it. I would imagine Chrissy's picture's even going to be up there, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
So people can go check that out. Was there anything, Chrissy, that we didn't talk about?
I mean, I always like to ask, could you share with our listeners one piece of life advice?
It's always such a loaded question.
It is a loaded question, but you know what? I've gotten some of the most amazing answers.
There's a lot that I want to share, but I think where I'm at right now and the advice that I could give is don't let pain hold you back from living life and experiencing joy. And then also with pursuing photography, and, I'm pursuing it again in my 30s, and I kind of wish I could go back, but that's not my reality. And so don't let fear hold you back either, and just go for it and have fun.
Do you have a website that people can go to?
I do. It's nicomarsh.co. And then you can also follow me on Instagram, and that's Nico T. Marsh.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming and doing the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Many thanks again to Nico Marsh for joining us on this episode of the podcast and sharing her story. You can head on over to our website, iamsaltlake.com/351 for all the links for you to get in touch with her and find out more about what she does.
Hey, don't forget to head on over to the website, like Chrissy said, iamsaltlake.com/351. And if you click on the top shop tab, you can get your hands on one of our brand new I Am Salt Lake t-shirts. These things are amazing. They're buttery soft. You're not going to want to take this thing off, I swear, because I never want to take my shirts off. But they are green and gray and yellow. Order yourself one. It'll get it delivered right to your doorstep. And it's a great way to support the podcast. Christmas is coming up. Maybe a Christmas gift. I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to talk about Christmas yet. Have we thought about Christmas at all, Chrissy?
Well, I mean, a little bit.
Anyway, iamsaltlake.com. Hit that shop tab and buy yourself one of the I Am Salt Lake t-shirts. That way, if we sell these all off, we can start making some hoodies and whatnot for winter right around the corner.
And that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you again to our amazing sponsors for this episode, Five Wives Vodka and Market Source Real Estate.
Also, many thanks to our awesome Patreon supporters. We'd love it if you would consider becoming a Patreon supporter. You can find out more by going to patreon.com/iamsaltlake.
And don't forget to just visit our website at iamsaltlake.com. This is where you can dig through the entire back catalog of episodes and share one or two of them with a friend. That's the way we want to grow this show. Just share it one by one.
That's our marketing budget, right?
That is literally our marketing budget.
If everybody shares the podcast with one or two friends. But you guys all have a great week. Get out and enjoy Salt Lake City. Support local. And we'll see you on the next episode.
And good night, Grammy.